This is the case of Morse v. Frederick. It is about an 18-year-old student who felt what he tried to do was part of his First Amendment right. But what fits within the First Amendment when other people's health is involved? In the end, we'll see how it turned out. It all started in January 2002. Now this is Joseph Frederick. He is the 18-year-old student in question. He was a senior at Janu Douglas High School in Alaska. He tried using his freedom of speech in a vulgar way during a school-sponsored event. This is Deborah Morse. She is the principal of Janu Douglas High School in Alaska. She went on to fight against Joseph for the right to help control what happens within her high school or within the school-sponsored events and activities. This is the high school where it all went down. This is Janu Douglas High School, and for 5 years this high school was quite the conversation starter during parties and social events, but they were most likely for all the wrong reasons. Ah yes, bong hits for Jesus. This is the banner that caused all of the commotion. When Principal Morse saw the banner, she immediately tore it down and suspended Frederick for 5 days. Needless to say, Frederick wasn't pleased and decided to do what seemed impossible: fight back. Frederick decided to appeal his suspension in court. He decided to appeal it in federal court, stating that Morse had violated his freedom of speech and his First Amendment right. The court sided with Morse, however, because it contravened the board's policy of drug abuse prevention. Frederick then took it to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. The court reversed the decision that was made in the first court, stating that Morse punished Frederick without completely knowing that the banner would cause a disruption. That she went too far with the suspension that was dealt. The circuit court believed that Morse's actions violated the landmark case of Tinker v. Des Moines. This was when the students wore black armbands in protest of the Vietnam War. The case went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the court decided that it was in violation of the students' free speech to restrict them from wearing the armbands. Morse then decided to appeal to the one and only Supreme Court. They also gained the free help from former federal appeals court judge and independent counsel, Kenneth Starr. This is where Morse brought up other cases that differ from Tinker v. Des Moines. In the case of Bethel v. Frazier, Matthew Frazier had delivered a student council speech that was filled with sexual innuendos. It was during a gathering in the school auditorium during school hours. The court decided that the school was in the right for suspending Frazier for his lewd conduct. This is the case of Hazelwood v. Colmier, another case brought up by Morse in hopes of reversing the previous outcome of the case. In this case, the school press was revealing teen pregnancy and teen abortions. The school really didn't like them talking about this, so the principal deleted them from the paper. The court felt that appropriate since it was a school-funded paper. This is Chief Justice John Roberts Jr. He believes that the school had a right to take the banner down to help prevent students advocating drug use. That schools should be able to care for their students from this type of speech from one bad egg, even though it wasn't during regular school time. It took place in the school's gymnasium during a high school basketball game. It happened after schooling hours, so shouldn't that mean the school had no right to do what it did? No. They had every right to take it down. It was a school-funded activity, giving the principal the right to take the banner down advocating illegal drug use. John Paul Stevens believed in the First Amendment question by saying, "The court does serious violence to the First Amendment in upholding the school to punish Frederick for expressing a view with which it disagreed." But, in final, Stevens did believe that the school should have qualified immunity. Now, these other two people are Chiefs David Souter and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. They both backed up John Stevens with his decision on qualified immunity. They also believed that the school had a stark viewpoint discrimination. Samuel Alito and Anthony Kennedy had some different opinions on the matter. They think that the school should not restrict a political issue such as the use of medical marijuana. They believe that students should speak out on political issues such as these ones. However, Judge Clarence Thomas decided to stick with his decision of originalism, going as far to go for a calling of a decision for Tinker to be overruled. He believes that the First Amendment within a public school setting does not protect students' free speech within those confines. Stephen Breyer concurred with that statement, but only partly. He believed that judges shouldn't go after the First Amendment issue, but should just rule that Principal Morse and the school should be qualified for immunity grounds. Qualified immunity is a defense that can be raised by government officials, including police officers, teachers, school administrators, and others, when they are personally sued in federal court for allegedly violating the statutory or constitutional rights of another individual. In a 5-4 decision, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that First Amendment does not prevent school administrators from restricting students' expressions that reasonably is viewed as promoting the use of illegal drugs. Thank you for watching my presentation on Morse versus Frederick.